How can I tell if I'm playing against a bot? This is easily one of the questions we get the most over here at Marvel Snap Zone. So today, we're walking you through a comprehensive guide of everything we know about bots in Marvel Snap. Do they exist? What kind of bots exist? How do they work, and what kind of factors you should be looking for if you want to recognize them at a glance while you're in game and currently playing, and also if you want to recognize them after the game and make sure for certain whether or not you were playing against a bot. If you enjoy this type of content, you've got to let me know. Pop a comment down below for me, let me know what you thought about it. Make sure you like the video while you're down there, help support the algorithm for us. And if you want to make sure you're not missing out on more content like this in the future, make sure you're subscribed to the channel here at Marvel Snap Zone to stay tuned for Marvel Snap videos each and every day. So, first of all, does Marvel Snap have bots? Well, first of all, we have to narrow down exactly what we mean by bots. When we're talking about this, we're not talking about human players who are botting the game against you. That is illegal and permanently bannable according to Second Dinner. What we're referring to here is bots made by the developer Second Dinner to help kind of balance and make sure certain aspects of the game of Marvel Snap run smoothly and that the economy works for all the players who are currently joining the game. If you are rank 30 or gold rank or below, you are guaranteed to play against a large number of bots. This is mostly to provide a pretty carefree and positive new player experience. If new players are losing games all the time and getting beat repeatedly, they probably don't want to stick around with a game if they're not enjoying it that much. Second Dinner obviously wants to mitigate that to the best of their ability, and so they will provide bot players who are easier to play against and easier to beat for players of this lower rank as they start their Marvel Snap journey. This encourages more people just to think they're pretty good at the game and want to spend more time getting invested and playing along for the long run. However, bots don't go away as you reach higher ranks. In fact, they start to serve a slightly different purpose as you progress through your Marvel Snap journey. Second Dinner have kind of made it clear they want their average wait time for a game to be about 5 seconds or so. So they don't want people sitting in a matchmaking queue waiting for much longer than that. Your opponents are obviously based kind of on your MMR and your collection level and a few other things you can see in our matchmaking guide if you prefer. So if there's no one really online for you right now that meet those criteria, Second Dinner don't want to keep you waiting for a game. They want you to be able to just hop in and play quick and precise. And for that reason, they will give you a bot to play against to make sure that you aren't waiting around. The more players you have at your MMR and CL level, the less likely you are to be paired against a bot at any given time. This does mean, of course, that if you are a very high rank in Marvel Snap, or you're just at a very high rank early on before everyone else in a season, you're going to see an increased amount of bots as a result. However, that's not the only purpose of bots in Marvel Snap once you get past rank 30. They actually serve as a way to inject cubes into the game to make sure that everyone has a chance to reach the infinite rank. If there was a limited amount of cubes in the game, because players can only give them or take them away realistically, that means that only a certain number of people would be able to make it to the infinite rank every single month, because there is only a finite amount of cubes. Bots existing lets us mitigate this problem and lets us kind of inject a flow of additional cubes into the Marvel Snap economy and make sure everyone has the chance to reach that rank if that's something they're interested in doing. As a result, it's pretty clear that the bots will never be going away in Marvel Snap. They're always going to be part and parcel of the gaming experience, but admittedly they should hopefully reduce significantly the more and more players join the game. So now that we know what we're talking about exactly, what do we know for a fact about these bots? Well, first of all, there are different levels and different types of bot and AI. If you look at Ego or Agatha, for example, these play cards completely randomly and often end up in some great esports style results as a result of that. However, the bots you play against come in multiple different types and variations and have multiple different skills and kind of features to them based on what type of bot you're playing against. If you're looking for a more detailed breakdown about that, we go into it a little later on down the video, breaking down the types of bots you can play against, so stay tuned for that if you want more information in that regard. Secondly, they are designed to look as human as possible, and they're getting better. The current development team have made it very clear they are constantly referencing it in several Discord posts. and this is kind of a killer for a video like this, sadly, is the methods we're going to share with you today to kind of recognize bots at a glance might not work in the future as Second Dinner continue to refine their bots and make them more and more human-like and less predictable. They don't want the bots to be clairvoyant, they want them to be as close to a human opponent as possible as time goes on and their AI improves. So no doubt some of these identifying factors will disappear, new ones will appear, and so on and so forth. Steven's already made it clear they intend to implement ways to control the kind of tricks and tips we're going to be talking about today when you're playing against bots and recognizing them. So this content will eventually be out of date in time. So if you're finding it a little later on than when it's published, please do keep that in mind. Maybe we've got a more recent version for you since then. Bots are currently very poor at assessing and reading locations. This is a big one for the moment, but something we know the Second Dinner team wants to eliminate thanks to our previous point. If a player throws their Angela into Murder World on turn 2, there's a good chance you're playing against a bot. Or at least we hope so. However, we have seen bot behavior kind of improving over time to the point where they won't now deliberately move minions into Fisk Tower, for example. Prominent player Agent Carter has done a lot of work on how bots work in Marble Snap, and we'll be sharing some more of their work in the video and in the description box down below, because they've definitely helped inform this video overall. And in their spreadsheet, they've got a list of ways they seem to have inferred, mostly through, conjecture and observation, about how bots are going to be able to play into particular locations. So we have nothing factual there, nothing foolproof, but they've played thousands and thousands and thousands of games against bots and have the best observations we've seen so far in terms of how they may behave into any specific location. So I highly recommend checking out that spreadsheet if that's something you're interested in finding out. The bot games that you play in Marble Snap do affect your hidden MMR. And again, if you don't know what I mean by that, MMR is a matchmaking rating that is used to inform the opponents you're playing against and just how good you are at Marble Snap according to Marble Snap itself. However, it will not affect it in the same way as playing against a player. We have to assume this means that it'll affect it less, but again, that's kind of inference at this point. This means that losing repeatedly or beating bots repeatedly will affect your future matchmaking and the kind of opponents you are eligible to play against in Marble Snap going forward. The decks you see bots playing against you are custom built by the development team at Second Dinner. They'll be different based on the collection level you are currently at. We are very aware that it will look something closer to where you are currently in the game. This includes the cards themselves, and it also includes the rarity of your opposing bot's cards as well, which are currently being mapped to your progression system. Back in September, the decks being played by bots inside Marble Snap were updated to reflect those of current player decks, and were influenced by some of the biggest haymakers in the metagame at that point, and Steven has made it clear they intend to continue to do this and continue to update the decks you will see them playing based on metagame shifts over time. So, if you want to recognize a bot at a glance during your game, what kind of things should you be looking for? Well, first of all, again, all of these at-a-glance tips are going to be subject to change, especially as more human players start to masquerade as bots, and as Second Dinner continues to get their bots better. So if you're looking for a concrete way, the best thing we currently have are the tips at the end of this video, but they are a little more time intensive. So if you just want to get an idea of if you maybe were playing against a bot, here's some things you can look for over the course of the game. Bots should always be using default avatars. They're kind of the ones you have access to at the beginning of the game when you first start playing Marble Snap. Occasionally, bots have been spotted using unreleased variants as well, but from what we can gather from Steven at Second Dinner, that's not supposed to be the case and shouldn't be in the game moving forward. Some of the ones you can expect to see on the most regular basis are the Agent Avatar, Misty Knight, Medusa, Cyclops, these kind of avatars that you all have access to when you first join the game of Marble Snap. They also tend to use the default purple snap card back. It's another one that's been true for a very, very long time, but has recently been called into question in several Discord posts and streams as well, as it's a pretty easy one for the team at Second Dinner to fix for the sake of disguising this. This might help you recognize it at a glance, but we can't confirm any longer that it's a concrete way of proving it like it used to be. In a similar way, there used to be another concrete way of telling if you were playing against a human if they emoted back at you during your game. If you were suspecting you were playing against a bot, you could just emote your opponent, and if they didn't emote back, well, that might incline you to believe that you are playing against a bot. Most human players aren't trying to be particularly rude when they're playing Marble Snap. However, we've been made aware recently by Ben Bro this is no longer the case, so we wanted to make sure we mentioned this one because it's a really popular belief in Marble Snap as a way to identify bots that we currently believe is no longer true. Bots can now emote back at you. If you're fresh to Marble Snap and below rank 30 currently, your bots tend to have a pretty stock naming convention for the names you'll see of the player you're playing against. These can often be a one-word username that's the first name of a human being, for example. Something like Abigail or Violet tend to be good examples in that case. Or they can be what we call compound names, kind of styled with an adjective and a noun based on how their names are configured. So, educated soldier or something to that effect to kind of give you that vibe. So, again, this is less applicable later. The other types of bots you see that aren't beginner bots don't tend to follow that convention quite as much. So it's a really good tip to look out for early if you're playing in the early ranks, but not so good for you later on. The big one that we can confirm right now is the easiest way to tell is to look at the variants your opponent are playing with. First of all, they shouldn't really have access to any of the season pass or exclusive style decals or card styles. So anything you had to buy from a bundle from the shop probably doesn't turn up in your bot opponent's deck. But more importantly, they have access to certain types of infinity splits that we cannot currently access as players. If you see a player using an inkified or gold card, but it has no particle effect attached to that card, human players can't currently acquire that, and that's a really dead giveaway. In a similar vein, if you see a rare particle effect, such as the Kirby Crackle, on a card with no foiling on the background, that's also not a combination that a human player can currently access in the game of Marble Snap. Pretty much a dead certain giveaway that your opponent is a bot. Last but not least, if a bot is ahead at 2 locations by a significant amount, they will normally snap to try and raise the stakes of the game. This can happen on turn 4, turn 5, or turn 6, but the key to look out for is it will always be at the very beginning of the turn. If a bot is certain that it's going to snap, it's going to snap for you immediately. There will be no thinking, no pause window, always at the very beginning of the turn cycle. As a result, if your opponent is sitting there thinking about things and snaps later into the turn, that's almost certainly not a bot, so please do keep that one in mind as well. We do have players who want something a little more concrete to decide if they've been playing against a bot or not, and we have a few ways of doing that, and we're also going to use this section to break down the different types of bot you can play against in Marble Snap. So first of all, at time of writing, there are 2 methods we want to suggest if you are dead set on really checking if you are playing against a bot. First of all, you can access your game files after you've played a game of Marble Snap. This can be found in several different places on several different devices. I have the Android one to hand that's currently linked below and in the article, but I will look to update to have the PC locations and Apple locations once I have access to them, fingers crossed. But I imagine it looks pretty similar to the one that I've listed for Android in the same style of location on your device. At the end of every game, your opponent's entire deck list is printed into a human-readable JSON file in those settings, essentially, which will get overwritten at the start of every different match. So if you played against a bot, you can go into that file, you can open it, you can read it, and there are a couple of factors that are a dead giveaway. Normally, the deck will be named deck and nothing else. For the most part, human players tend to give creative names to their decks, give them a little bit of flair, make them their own, title them whatever they may. Bots don't do that. Bots just call their deck deck, and you'll see that in the deck name at the top of that file. Secondly, you'll notice there is no information about a card being assigned boosters at the end of the game. That is accessible information that also belongs in those files, so if you finish a game, you'll be able to tell what card was assigned what boosters. If you played against a bot, that information will not be there. Alternatively, if you want to not go digging around in game files to find out, we actually have this incredible, comprehensive spreadsheet here, provided to me by Keralis here, Marvel Snap Zone contributor, but I don't know for sure the original source on this as to whether it was them or whether they've been provided it by somebody else. So if you do know where this came from and it wasn't them, please do let me know, and I'll try and make sure I give the appropriate credit as a result. Now, this thing is really impressive and very, very cool. You'll notice this is a list of every suspected bot name in Marvel Snap. It has a name and a type listed next to them, and this is where we'll go into the types of bots you'll play against. So if you access this spreadsheet, again, it's linked for you down below to go give a click yourself. Highly recommend you doing that. Any name you see that has real player listed next to it is exactly that. It's a username that currently fits bot typing conventions and might appear as a bot in the future, or is currently both a bot and a real player, so you have no way of being sure in that regard. But you should look at this as though this is not currently being used as a bot, or it is both a bot and a real player, so there's no discernible way of telling in this case. Real player should be treated as exactly that. Real human being, definitely not a bot for now. Anything labelled human, however, is the lowest level of bot. These are the ones you'll mostly see at rank 30 or below. They don't really understand the game, they don't seem to read locations or cards very well, they can't see your plays, they can't see the cards in your hand. They're just going to be looking to keep initiative on board and win as quickly as possible, and try and stay ahead on as many locations as they can for as long as possible. LSTM are the smarter, more cheaty bots, as people prefer to refer to them, that can kind of sometimes see your upcoming plays, the cards you have available to you in hand, and is much better at reading the board. They are, however, sometimes still a little bit dodgy with reading some locations and evaluating how they will affect the game state, and these bots can still be pretty easily metagamed and played against once you've recognised them. Marvel is a listing in here with a very small subsection of bots, and they're somewhere in between. I don't currently have any discernible factors about these type of bots. We just know that anything listed as Marvel here is in fact a bot, but doesn't meet the criteria of either of the other two metrics. You'll notice if you go into the link data on the side here, it's like a very small percentage of bots that are currently labelled that way, so I imagine you'll see them very, very rarely. And that is just about it for everything we currently know about Marvel Snap's bots. Hopefully this guide has been helpful for players alike to kind of better understand them, and hopefully identify them when playing against them where possible, if that's something you are looking to do. I just want to take a moment at the end of this video to first of all thank everyone for watching and checking out the content here, and for the support and subscriptions that come from this video, but lastly to thank my sources on this one as well. We've had multiple comments and posts from the development team at Second Dinner from their official Discord that have been referenced in this video for the sake of proving a point, so thank you to them very much so for that. We of course have Marvel Snap Zone contributor Keralis for providing me with the bot types and names document you saw on screen that is linked below as well, and hopefully wherever that originally came from will be confirmed sooner rather than later. And last but not least, we have Agent Carter, another prolific player in the Marvel Snap place with tons of accolades, and was well over rank 1000 in the early beta seasons, and very, very, very good at what they do, and has collected all kinds of data and comprehensive spreadsheets about behaviour and play patterns and tips and tricks when playing against bots, and what you should be looking for and what you should be considering. And again, all of that is in the description box if you want to go and check it out, so I highly recommend their work as well for helping to inform this video. It really does indeed help us out a lot when we're looking to kind of break these things down for the player base overall. Thank you again for watching. I've been HowlingMines, you have been amazing, and this has been Marvel Snap Zone. Take care, have a good day.